Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It seems a lot less daunting to know that they're so willing.
American healthcare staff thinking to move to BC. The Premier's push to get more of them to come north.
President Trump's loss is British Columbia's gain.
Plus,
we just landed here and we are going to go see the Parliament building.
while fewer Canadians are traveling south, American tourists heading to BC's capital are not slowing down for now.
We are seeing trends of about 6 to 8% ahead of last year, which was a strong year.
And
Burnaby is a kind of a municipal middle child. And just like my middle child, Burnaby too has its own identity.
Burnaby wants to get more recognition. But will a $600,000 welcome sign do the trick?
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. BC Premier David Eby says BC's push to attract American healthcare workers north of the border is paying off. It's part of a move to help fill the province's shortage of doctors, nurses, and other workers. Katie DeRosa has more from one nurse starting the journey to come here.
A wife in a same-sex marriage, needing to get out of the red state.
Rachel Smith-Taylor is a nurse living in Texas with her wife and 3 children. She and her spouse Lisa have been thinking about leaving the U.S. since President Donald Trump was reelected. The couple visited Nanaimo for the first time last month when marketing guru Todd Maffin created a TikTok video inviting Americans to come visit the Mid-Island town. Now they're thinking of making the city their permanent home. They've already toured Nanaimo Regional General Hospital and learned about the province's efforts to fast-track the process for American nurses and doctors to work here. The nurse of 15 years spoke virtually alongside BC's Premier on Monday as David Eby insisted that the province's call for U.S.-trained nurses and doctors is being heard south of the border.
President Trump's loss is British Columbia's gain.
Eby says recognizing the credentials of American doctors and nurses now takes days instead of months. Since the Fast Track program started in April, 177 U.S.-trained nurses have applied to work here. 113 have had their credentials recognized. But that doesn't mean those healthcare workers are actually here in BC. They still have to get work permits through Canada's immigration system. Smith-Taylor has just started the registration process.
I'm on step 4 of like 502.
But she's been encouraged knowing that a team from Health Match BC can help her navigate the immigration and hiring process.
It seems a lot less daunting to know that they're so willing and have the capabilities of helping us, those of us who want to leave and want to get out of this political unrest.
Next month, the province will launch an ad blitz in Washington State, Oregon, and California as it tries to attract more healthcare workers like Smith-Taylor. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
A Maple Ridge City Councillor is taking a leave of absence after being charged with 6 criminal counts. Ahmed Yusuf is charged with 4 counts of assault, 1 count of pointing a firearm at another person, and 1 count of unsafe storage of a firearm. In a statement posted on Facebook, Yusuf says he's going to take leave to focus my time and efforts on some personal matters, and he hopes to take a seat back at council as soon as he can. Yusuf was elected at Maple Ridge in 2018. In a statement, the city of Maple Ridge confirms Yusuf is on leave, but is not able to share any more details. It adds council continues to maintain quorum and says it can do city business as usual. Political tensions with the U.S. have showed no signs of hurting tourism in BC's capital. While Trump-imposed tariffs mean many Canadians are not booking U.S. vacations, as the CBC's Roseanne Holman explains, early bookings from south of the border point to a strong season for Victoria.
We just landed here and we are going to go see the Parliament building. And then maybe we have a whale watching tour this afternoon.
This tourist from Texas is one of a steady stream wandering through Victoria's Inner Harbor. Despite political tensions between Canada and the U.S., American tourists are not staying away.
It's just rhetoric and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't worry about it. We are brothers and sisters,
We work with our hotels here, and we are seeing trends of about 6 to 8% ahead of last year, which was a strong year.
Victoria is also benefiting from Canadian tourists who scrapped their plans to travel south of the border, like this visitor from Richmond.
Well, we were thinking about going to Seattle to see the Blue Jays, but because of the situation with tariffs and so forth, we decided to come to Victoria instead.
The trend of Canadians avoiding the U.S. is hurting one sector, though. The Coho and Clipper, which ferry travelers back and forth between Victoria and Washington state, might be seeing plenty of Americans, but Canadians are not sailing south like they once did. So both companies have announced short-term cutbacks to their scheduled service.
I would say we're right now just going to wait and see. I think it is kind of a new environment, and hopefully Carney and maybe that relationship, maybe Canadians will feel better about going to the U.S.
In Port Angeles, the dip in Canadians is noticeable.
Yeah, I watched the boat go in and out all day, and the number of cars that go on and off, and the number of license plates, from Ontario, Manitoba, British Columbia, you name it. We see them all here normally, but we see fewer of them now.
But he says the restaurants and hotels are coping. Tourist operators in Victoria are also okay for now. But Paul Nursey of Destination Greater Victoria says time will tell whether continued political tensions with the U.S. will impact bookings in the future. Roseanne Holman, CBC News, Victoria.
There is more evidence that Canadians have been rethinking plans to visit the United States. Statistics Canada says that year over year, both return air travel and vehicle crossings to America are down. And as Sophia Harris tells us, that travel hesitancy is already being felt at major U.S. conferences.
So this is a big one.
When U.S. President Trump took office, this sociologist knew they wouldn't be attending an upcoming sports sociology conference in Seattle, despite overseeing its planning.
As a trans person, I no longer feel safe entering the U.S.
It wasn't long before many other Canadian members reported they too wouldn't travel to the U.S. Reasons include Trump's tariffs,
Steel, aluminum,
his threats to annex Canada.
It would really be a wonderful marriage.
And increased border security.
It was a real sense of violation.
This sociologist also won't be going. He says in March, on his way to a conference in South Carolina, a U.S. Customs officer interrogated him at the Montreal airport and searched his phone and wallet.
To be subject to these kind of searches and the seemingly arbitrary authority of basically police officers in these spaces, it's beyond disquieting. It's frightening.
To address the travel concerns, organizers decided to add a second tandem conference location in Vancouver.
If we were to just hold the conference in Seattle, it would be significantly underattended.
CBC News has also identified several other organizations which recently relocated their entire upcoming conferences from the U.S. to Canada.
It's a great biomarker.
In another case, a pending American-Canadian Pathologist Conference chose Montreal.
In light of some of the rhetoric coming out of the White House in the United States, it would be very unpalatable for many of our members to go to America.
This will definitely be a boost to our economy. I think we're going to see meetings that we've never held in Canada come to Canada.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection told CBC News all foreign arrivals are subject to inspection and that lawful travelers have nothing to fear. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
It is one of the Lower Mainland's largest cities, but doesn't usually get the same attention as its bigger neighbors. So Burnaby is looking to gain more recognition with a new campaign called Why Burnaby is a Great Place to Be. As our municipal affairs reporter Justin McElroy explains, this includes a proposed landmark sign that could cost a lot of money.
Burnaby. It's a city known for being so middle of the road that the person in charge of tourism once said this.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people are going to, discover Burnaby and say, you know what, let's cancel the trip to Disneyland. I'm going to take my family to Burnaby for a week this year.
And it's a city so defined by comparisons to Vancouver and Surrey that at Mayor Mike Hurley's State of the City address on Monday, he said this.
Burnaby is a kind of a municipal middle child. And just like my middle child, Burnaby too has its own identity.
But like any middle child, Burnaby wants more attention, to be known. And it's why Hurley unveiled a new campaign called Why Burnaby is a Great Place to Be.
There's no shortage of entertainment in Burnaby. Be you. Be here. Be Burnaby.
Now, we're not going to fact check just how much entertainment is in Burnaby, but every campaign needs more than just a glossy video, which may be why on Tuesday, Council is being asked to give the green light to a welcome sign It would be a landmark sign that could provide iconic photo opportunities and cost up to $600,000. And when we asked the mayor why it was necessary, he said this.
We're the heart of the Lower Mainland, the center of the Lower Mainland. So we got to really start promoting what we do, put our best foot forward.
That may be true, and we'll see what council decides. But there's a lot of benefits to being the middle child. You have lots of resources, and you can sometimes sneak in under the radar, but it can be awfully hard to convince your parents or taxpayers to get a shiny new present with your name on it. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A fire wiped out 3 homes in the Sunnyside neighborhood of Anmore overnight on Saturday. Michelle Gomez has more from the scene.
It started at 11:30 on Saturday evening. A fire tore through a mobile home on this property, eventually spreading to 2 nearby homes. That's according to Jay Sharp, fire chief of the Sasamat Volunteer Fire Department. He says it's been several years since the community has seen a fire of this magnitude.
The heat was extremely intense. There was a lot of people out and about. Bit of chaos. Took a few minutes to get the scene settled down, but it was quite spectacular, the fire.
It took about 3 hours to get the fire under control. Sharp says it had recently rained at the time, but if the conditions had been drier, it could have easily spread to other nearby homes and forest.
Because of the time of the year and it had rained the previous day, we weren't that concerned. But had it been in the middle of summertime, it could have been a lot different.
The local community association has started an online fundraiser to support all the residents impacted. As of Monday morning, investigators are on scene looking into the cause of the fire. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Anmore.
BC's wildfire service is getting ahead of more than just flames. It's taking to social media to tackle growing confusion about the very word wildfire. Johanna Wagstaff explains.
Okay, so there's a fire somewhere in a forest. Is it a forest fire or a wildfire? Is it too dramatic to call it a wildfire? What if humans started the fire? Is it a human-made fire in that case? Who gets to decide what we call a fire? As someone who has covered many wildfires, there's a simple answer here. Wildfire is actually the most accurate word. A wildfire is any unplanned fire in a natural space. It could be a forest, grassland, or a muskeg. It could be started by people, and it could be totally out of control or already contained. Here, the word wild doesn't mean out of control. It means out in the wild. Same way we say wildflower or wildlife. Even if some online commenters disagree about when and how to use the word wildfire, the science world is in agreement here. And as wildfire season ramps up across the country, getting the language right actually matters. The BC Wildfire Service recently posted on Facebook calling out confusion and straight up misinformation about the word. The response was massive.
Yeah, we had a lot of positive response of people who were saying things like, thank you, I'd actually always wondered exactly what this meant, and people who were also grateful or expressing gratitude that they could then use that information to counter misinformation that they were finding in their own lives.
So this kind of pushback isn't totally new. Wildfire officials say it's been growing louder over the last few years.
Anecdotally, we have seen in recent years more misinformation. Typically, we tend to see this kind of engagement when there's other contentious topics that are happening. People are stressed, people are anxious. For example, a lot of the engagement that we've received recently speaks to the federal election. Often we'll see upticks around the American federal election, the provincial elections, the COVID-19 pandemic, any of those kind of big society-wide discussions or things that make people feel anxious or uncertain. And that's one of the big reasons why we've wanted to focus so much on public education.
Bottom line, the fires are just getting started, and so is the effort to clear up the confusion.
More on wildfires and our weather. Darius Madavi is here, and you've got that map we know very well.
Yes, all too well. And it is pretty early to see this high and extreme fire danger in pockets of the province. Fire danger has come down a little bit in the south, but up in the northeast, still remaining very high. And, some temperatures are going to be coming down up in the north over the next couple days, but really not much in the way of precipitation is expected. Let's take a look here. You can see a few lightning strikes have been happening, especially in the central interior, up around the Caribou region. And here on the south coast, there has been a little bit of lightning activity as well in parts of southwestern BC. And here we go, Dan. The next couple days, expect mostly cloud coming in and out, and a few showers maybe coming to Vancouver on Wednesday morning.
Okay. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
BC man finds the car he bought had its odometer rolled back by a lot. You will want to see this. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC celebrates Asian Heritage Month through the language of movement, where every step tells a story. Throughout the month of May, we're shining a spotlight on Asian dance groups, showcasing the dynamic blend of classical, folk, and contemporary dance forms. These talented dance groups share their cultural heritage through stories and traditions, knowledge and technique. Read and watch their stories at cbc.ca/BC.
A BC man has a warning for anyone looking to buy a used vehicle. He unknowingly bought a car with misleading mileage. Erica Johnson with our Go Public team looks into the deceptive practice of odometer fraud.
So this is the car?
Yeah.
Steve Andrews needed a car for his growing family, landed on this 2012 Subaru. A good price, and the mileage was right, about 98K.
They said it was in very good condition, that there was no real problems or issues with it.
But as soon as the car left this dealership, it started to shake. Andrews brought it to a mechanic who helped him locate a record showing that back in 2020, the mileage was already thousands higher than advertised. But it gets worse. Go Public tracked down the previous owner who sold that Subaru just a few months ago. What was the mileage on the vehicle when you sold it? She told us the odometer was at about 150,000. So who rolled it back? More than 50,000 clicks.
Yeah, I was definitely angry.
Looks like a classic case of odometer fraud, which no one tracks in Canada. But recent tariffs on new vehicles are expected to drive up demand for used ones. And it's not that hard to find out how to fiddle with an odometer. This expert shows how even modern digital odometers can be tweaked using a handheld programmer widely sold online.
It is a click of a button and entering in a number. You don't have to have any know-how. You just need to know how to select a vehicle on a screen.
In seconds, he takes years off the vehicle. Andrews bought the car from this dealership, which told us the mileage was low when they agreed to sell it on consignment from this dealership, which also said the mileage was low when they bought it from the private seller. Claimed they'd done a full investigation, but wouldn't say what they found. This car expert says the buck stops at the dealership selling the car.
Dealerships do have to go upstream and find the source of where this all began, who is responsible, because ultimately they will be held accountable.
Steve Andrews did get a refund and filed a complaint with BC's regulator for car dealerships. He also bought a used car for his family from a different dealership. He hopes his story warns others about a potentially costly, deceptive practice he was lucky to catch. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
A brand new healthcare facility has opened in Cranbrook. As the CBC's Corey Bullock shows us, able to provide culturally safe care for Indigenous people in the region.
They will not go to the hospital, and they would rather suffer than go to be exposed to racism.
ACOM Chief Cheryl Casimir speaks at a special ceremony marking the opening of the new Ktunaxa Nation Regional Health Centre. The brand new facility marks a major milestone in the delivery of culturally safe care within the Ktunaxa Nation.
And so it's critically important that we be able to create these safe spaces for our people to feel welcome and to feel like this is a part of them.
The new clinic is located downtown Cranbrook. It offers care to both Indigenous and non-Indigenous patients. Nurse practitioners, outreach nurses, counselors, and physiotherapists, along with other staff, have received special training to help provide a more trauma-informed approach.
As Ktunaxa, historically, we've always been very welcoming, and our ability to offer services to those outside of the nation as well, I think, just exemplifies that. And we're going to continue to honor that, continue to honor past, present, and future generations in that way.
It's the first of its kind, with the former health center being located in the basement of the Ktunaxa government building. The clinic already has 1,600 patients and is currently accepting new ones. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
Well, spring is well upon us. Up high, winter isn't ready to give up its grip just yet. This is the view from Apex Mountain, just outside Penticton, where snow is falling on the shuttered ski hill after the season's over. Darius will have your BC-wide weather forecast coming up next. With BC's hottest and driest months just around the corner, FortisBC is proposing to proactively cut power to some customers in the southern interior. It says it's a safety measure to protect communities against wildfires as a last resort. Outages could last up to 3 days or more. The mayor of Princeton, though, has now filed a formal complaint against it.
To start off, we'd have to evacuate probably 1,000 people. We'd have to evacuate both hospitals, the one in Princeton and in Caribbean. We'd have to evacuate our care facilities. We'd have to evacuate anybody with high risk, so anybody who's got diabetes or CPAP and all those type of things, they'd all have to be evacuated. So it's a mass evacuation of the valley.
Darius Madavi here with our BC-wide weather forecast, from something very different from that to what we've got next. Little rain.
That's right. Yes, a couple days of sunshine and then rain for almost the entire province. Many places seeing at the very least some showers, and some places some more consistent rainfall. So let's start here on the south coast. Like I said, a couple days with not very much precipitation, a few showers popping up on the island. Wednesday morning, there's a chance that we get some precipitation here on the lower mainland. It's in only a couple models, and I know Environment Canada is saying it's a possibility. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably not going to happen. But once we get into Thursday, this is where our real rain comes. Not just across the south coast, but across much of BC. Again, a few showers possible, some thunderstorming activity possible in parts of areas like Caribou today, maybe even returning tomorrow in places like Kelowna. But once we get into Thursday, we see that precipitation hit the coast and then spread into much of the interior as well, spreading some really much needed precipitation to a lot of these areas. Freezing levels will also be low enough that we are going to high enough that we'll only see snow at those very, very highest elevations, most places getting that rain. In terms of temperatures over the next couple of days, a bit of fluctuation, but we're staying high in the south tomorrow. Temperatures don't start to come down until we get into Wednesday on the coast, and then Thursday for the interior. Conditions across the province tomorrow, for the most part, like I said, pretty dry, but a few places like the Okanagan seeing a possibility of some thunderstorms. In terms of a 5-day forecast, Dan, not looking too shabby. Something for everybody.
Mixed bag. There you go. Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on our free app, CBC Gem, as well as on YouTube, and of course our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Good night.